I want to get back to some political news now. Barack Obama, have you noticed, getting a lot of news coverage during his visit to the Middle East? Not all of it, though, positive. Getting hit today back home here over his policy toward Iraq and Afghanistan by the Washington Post. In light of Obama calling Iraq a distraction, here's what the editorial board is writing this morning. Quote, Iraq lies at the geopolitical center of the Middle East and contains some of the world's largest oil reserves. If Mr. Obama's anti-war stance has blinded him to those realities, that could prove far more debilitating to him as president than any particular timetable he may be setting. Let's talk to the national co-chair of John McCain's campaign for some reaction. He is former Homeland Security Secretary and former Pennsylvania Governor Tom Ridge. Governor, thank you for being here.
It's really nice to join you this morning. Thank you.
The thrust of this editorial being that if you're dismissing the post-surge Iraq, which we are now in, we should point out, that is very dangerous. Your thoughts?
Well, I think perhaps the next book that the senator writes should be The Audacity of False Hope. Somehow he thought things could change around in Iraq, albeit is only a distraction, without voting for troops, without voting for the surge, by talking about basically unconditional pullout. The fact of the matter remains is that a tough policy supported by Senator McCain from the get-go, more boots on the ground, has been extraordinarily successful. Doesn't mean that we're done yet. But this whole notion that it has been successful and then he denies its success and then says had he had a crystal ball and was able to look in the future and saw that it was successful, he would still vote against it. That lends one to question his judgment, around which he has so much confidence.
You know, we should point out, too, that he did an interview with Katie Couric over at CBS, and she asked him repeatedly about that to explain how you can say you still would have been against the surge in light of the success. He did say, just for the record, that he does think there has been success there, but he says, you know, you can't tell what would have happened if we had stuck with my position when we were talking about the surge in the first place. You know, Dick Morris, who you see, a former Clinton advisor who you see often here on Fox, had something interesting to write this morning. He said, you know, for what McCain needs to do at this point to take advantage of all this is not argue about the surge. Don't argue about it. It's past history. But let's argue about this idea of post-surge. And what Morris writes is basically is Obama's plan is setting us up for yet another war in Iraq, that we will have unfinished business there that will affect us here in the United States. Is that true?
Well, I think it's pretty clear that absent the surge, absent the courage and the sacrifice of the soldiers, the incredible leadership of General Petraeus and everybody else over there, you don't see the success, you don't see the stability that's absolutely essential for the Iraqis to take control of their own future. I mean, Senator Obama has said that over and over again. We need to put them in a position so they can take control of their own future, but it can't be done just by hoping that you get there. You needed an American presence, a significant increase in forces that is building the political stability and the military and law enforcement stability that in time will allow for a substantial withdrawal. Hope has never been a very good strategy or a plan, and then you just go back to his notion that every step along the way he has opposed the kinds of things that needed to be done in order to let the Iraqi people control their own fate. And ironically, as he's traveling around, today is his one-year anniversary when he said that he would unilaterally, without conditions, sit down and meet with leaders of these rogue countries. I mean, his notion of how you affect and influence events is about rhetoric. It's about talking. And unfortunately, in the world of the 21st century, actions speak louder than words.
Governor Ridge,
and he's opposed every single action that created the environment for him to go in and talk with the Prime Minister.
Governor Ridge, I'm being given a big rap, but I only have 10 seconds where I'm going to be in big trouble here. But you know I have to ask you this question about when this vice presidential announcement's coming, and have you been vetted for that? Have you talked to them about being a potential number 2 on John McCain's ticket?
No conversation with anybody, and when they announce it, I'll be one of those most interested in their decision.
Is it coming this week?
I have no idea.
Okay, you did it in
no conversations. Thank you.
Under 12 seconds. Thank you, former Pennsylvania Governor Tom Ridge, former Homeland Security Secretary. He is the national co-chair of the McCain campaign. Governor, thank you.